Hello, 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 and welcome back to yet another college football video. Listen, man, I have been slacking with the videos as of late, but listen, some shocking developments have taken place, and quite frankly, I am dedicating my time to something far more important, and I'm very happy to do so. But with that being said, I still enjoy making YouTube videos. I'm still going to be on here talking about football every week, but uh, I'm focusing my attention elsewhere right now. But with that being said, let's get right into it. College football week 2 took place. I thought it was a very underrated week, quite frankly. There were a lot of moments in games that did not get enough attention that I thought were very, very good. We're going to talk about all those games. We're going to talk about my top 30, and some teams looked very impressive, and some other teams crashed and burned. So let's get right into it. Thank you for watching, as always. Allow me to share the screen real quick so we can get into it. Okay, so starting off with the teams that fell out of my top 30 rankings, uh, Kansas, they lost to Missouri. First of all, I was extremely hyped for this game, and this game lived up to all the expectations. It was a very good game on the road for Kansas at Missouri. And quite frankly, I thought Jalen Daniels played a really good game, but he was kind of let down by the run game and especially by the defense here. Kansas could not establish anything on the ground against Missouri, and their defense got absolutely carved up. Now, it looked like it was going to be all Kansas early on. I believe they had like a pick six or a fumble recovery touchdown. Kansas was looking dominant in the first half of this game. Then Missouri had a monster second quarter, and then they just made the more big plays in the second half to close this one out. But like I said, man, I thought Jalen Daniels played really well, and I don't think it's over for Kansas. You know, they were at the edge of my top 30. They looked really good the first 2 weeks. I mean, to score 30 points on the road against a pretty good Missouri team, I think that leads them. And by the way, it's not a conference loss. So you know, with the state that the Big 12 is in, remember this right here. I am still not going to be shocked at all if Kansas picks themselves back up, marches forward, and ends up winning the Big 12 championship game and making the playoffs as the result. So it's, they lost, but far from over if you're Kansas. Now, the season is over for Kansas State. I have no problem saying that. Kansas State genuinely has not had a single positive moment in the first 3 games of their season. They had a buzzer beater touchdown against North Dakota, not North Dakota State, the other garbage one from the FCS. And it's just like they haven't they haven't fixed anything. Avery Johnson had his worst game of the season so far. They have struggled to run the ball. Maybe that's because they don't have what's his name, Dylan Edwards, the running back. He got hurt on like the first play of the season. He is not back yet. Maybe that was just the key to this whole team. The defense is not impressive. They lost to Army, man. And it's so frustrating because I had Army in my top 30, but since they lost to Tarleton State, now I have 2 teams, Kansas State and Army, that are just complete. Ugh, it makes me sick. But the defense was garbage. No sacks, no takeaways. They let Army go 6 for 7 on fourth downs. That's embarrassing. And yeah, they had 0 playmakers in this game that showed up in any big way. So Kansas State is garbage. And of course, they were my pick to win the Big 12, but there were many people. I would go as far as say they were probably maybe not the majority of people. They were one of the top picks to win the Big 12, and they have crashed and burned. The question is though, how bad could it get for Kansas State? Because they have had genuinely 0 positive takeaways from the first 3 games. Could we be staring at a 3 or a 4 win season for them? What would that lead to? But yeah, Kansas State's garbage. They are out of my rankings. Kansas State would have to go on at least a 5-game win streak, at least, to get back to my rankings, and I just don't see that happening. Next up, we have Florida. The good thing is, I am really glad here that I never had Florida ranked anywhere near my top 15, my top 20. I was very cautious on Florida State, and for good reason, because they lost at home to USF. And, it's weird, right? Because people are using the end of last season and the offseason to try and build up Florida to something more that they were. But, DJ Lagway, I didn't watch this game. I'm not going to speak on how good I thought he did or didn't play. The fact of the matter is he didn't do enough. You only score 16 points at home against USF. If you score 16 points in college football, you can't expect to beat anybody, let alone at home. So it's just that was embarrassing. The run game, didn't score any touchdowns. 133 yards is just not as effective as it needs to be, especially for an SEC team. And, the only player over 60 yards, the only player that came to play, it looks like, is Jaden Ball, the running back. And it wasn't just that. It was the special teams mistakes. It was the penalties. Florida still, in Billy Napier's is his fourth year, still look undisciplined, poorly coached, all the things that should have got a coach fired in his second year, quite frankly. And the defense, you know what? I'm not going to blame the defense too much for this game. If you hold a team to 18 points, you absolutely have to win that game. But, zero takeaways, nearly 400 yards allowed. They didn't play flawless by any stretch of the imagination. So, embarrassing performance at home by Florida. Credit to USF. This is a big game for them, but I really do feel like Florida just beat themselves here over and over, and really just a bad look for their whole program, to be honest. So I don't believe. I mean, unless they beat LSU this week, they do play LSU. I believe it's on the road, but based off what I just saw last game, I have zero confidence in Florida to pull that one off. So, yeah, I think Florida is pretty much cooked as far as this season is concerned. Moving on, we're going to start from the top now. We started from the bottom last week. So Ohio State, they played a nobody, but they looked really good against. And this is the thing, right? One of the narratives about this week was how many of the top teams were playing complete garbage cans. But here's the thing: Ohio State, they played Texas in week one. They get a pass, right? The problem that I have are teams that play nobodies in week one and week two. A lot of these teams decided to play tough opponents the first 2 weeks. So Ohio State, they get a pass for me. And another thing is that these types of games, a lot of people say they mean nothing. But here's the thing: the confidence that you build by beating a team this significantly is, and it's especially important for guys like Julian Sand and Jeremiah Smith to get that connection, because the plays they make, the confidence they build in these games is going to translate. The big passes that Julian Sand completed this game to Jeremiah Smith and Cardinal Tate is going to give him the belief moving forward that he can make those throws and he's going to attempt those moments against the big teams in the big moments. So even though you could say these games don't really mean much, it sits in the back of a player's mind later on in the season when they go back to these types of moments. So it's just Ohio State remains at number one. In the grand scheme of things, beating Grambling does nothing for them. But I think you have to win these games in these types of a fashion if you are a good team. Number two, I have Texas. They beat San Jose State very soundly. Arch Manning, he looked to bounce back. He gained some confidence back, it seems. 5 touchdowns, over 300 yards. Parker Livingstone, really massive performance. And the defense played well, of course. This is now back-to-back games. The Texas defense has looked incredible. So, 4 takeaways. That's kind of shocking. But, yeah, Texas, and maybe, I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion to have Texas as my number 2 team still, but losing on the road to the defending national champions in week one does not kill your season by any stretch of the imagination. So I still have a lot of confidence and faith in Texas going forward. They're still my pick to win the national championship. I'm not going to change that based off week one. Penn State, number 3. I thought the offense especially looked really rough here for Penn State. Not the run game. Katron Allen had a good game. They were able to run the ball. But brother, it's one thing for Drew Aller to look terrible against the big teams, right? But he was bad against FIU. I don't get it. I truly 1,000% do not understand what people see in Drew Aller, because I have never seen it. I have never watched Drew Aller and been impressed. It's just that simple. And when he's struggling against FIU in his third year as a starter, it's just he's one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the country, and he's still struggling against FIU. So I don't know what to say. The Penn State run game is good. The defense is outstanding yet again, it looks like. But Drew Aller, I am confident he will continue to hold them back going forward. Number 4, I have LSU. Struggled against Louisiana Tech, just came out looking sloppy. I believe the touchdown didn't come to the fourth quarter, so they were in control this whole game, but almost identical stat lines for Garrett Nussmeier back-to-back. It looks like the LSU offense has just yet to get going, quite frankly. But here's the interesting thing. I mentioned they play Florida next week, right? And LSU's not a heavy favorite. They're at home, by the way. They're not a heavy favorite at all. I think LSU is going to destroy Florida. I would bet money on them. I think they're 6.5-point favorites. I think they're going to win by double digits. I think they're going to embarrass Florida. They are due for a good performance. They have not had one the first 2 weeks. And I think, they're going to kind of lock in here. And, the defense, by the way, looking really good now. Back-to-back weeks against, I'll admit, Louisiana Tech, but also Clemson. So I do think LSU is going to lay the whooping on Florida. Now, if they don't, then I might have to reevaluate what I think about them. But as for now, I still have them ranked as my number 4 team because a lot of teams struggle in these nobody type games this week. Miami, they did not struggle. They put the beats on Bethune-Cookman. Um, wasn't Ed Reed supposed to be their coach? Didn't they fire him like after a month that they hired him? I don't know what the situation was there, but yeah, Miami looked good. Defense looked really good. It looks like this Malachi Tony guy is going to be like a big time, player for him. CJ Daniels though also had a good game, and I think their running back did as well. So, yeah, Carson Beck, Miami, they are rolling to start the season. Georgia at number 6. This game was weird. There was like a 2-hour weather delay, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know how much that affected their performance, but I mean, they beat Austin. Who cares, man? It's just like, I'm not going to spend too much time breaking down every play, how they looked. I've heard from Georgia fans that they did struggle this game, but I don't care. It's Austin P. So yeah, defense looked great. That's all that matters. Next up, number 7, Oregon. Now, you might look at that score of 69-3 and think they were playing a nobody. No, they beat Oklahoma State more soundly than they beat whoever the nobody that they played in week 1. Let me actually quickly look up who they played in week 1 because they beat Oklahoma State much more soundly than they did that team. Let me quickly pull that up for you. And I believe that Mike Gundy was talking a bit before this game, and he's catching a lot of flack right now because Oklahoma State was absolutely terrible last season, and it would appear that they are in for another very, very bad season this year. But I mean, Oregon, they didn't get as much, and it's weird, right? Because they were the only team to go 12-0 last year. I thought that, my personal opinion, I thought Oregon had the second best season in college football last year because they were undefeated in the regular season. They won their conference championship, so they were 13-0, and they had a win in the regular season over the eventual national champion. So it's like Notre Dame made the national championship game, but they didn't win a conference or anything like that. I mean, do you really think that Georgia or Clemson had better seasons than Oregon? So it's like I do feel like Oregon had the second best season last year, and they didn't get a lot of hype going into this year. I understand they lost their quarterback and some of their key pieces, but it's like, man, Oregon is looking dominant. And by the way, they played Montana State in week 1, and they only won that game 59-13. They beat Oklahoma State 69-3. And brother, this was hard to watch. I didn't watch it, but I would assume it's hard to watch. 312 rushing yards, 4 players over 75 yards. Oklahoma State could not complete a goddamn pass against the Oregon defense, and the defense looked dominant. So Oregon is continuing to climb up. I believe they play Penn State this year. And brother, I am almost certainly going to take Oregon in that game. I can pretty much guarantee it. For some reason, don't know how or why, Notre Dame did not play in week 2. Don't know how that's even possible, but they didn't. So it is what it is. They move up one spot for me. South Carolina, they beat South Carolina State. They had multiple return touchdowns in this game. So the game got out of hand quite quickly, if you will. So we didn't get to see as much of Lenore Sellers and guys like that as maybe I would like to. It's weird, right? Because I think South Carolina has a really good defense. I think their special teams is a strength for them, like it is not for other teams. But I still don't know how good their offense is. If they were to play a team like LSU or Georgia or Alabama, I don't know how well they would hold up. So it's weird, right? I'm waiting to see. And by the way, so South Carolina, they play a big game next week. They play against Vanderbilt. They do host the game, but Vanderbilt, they're 2-0. They have the most momentum in their program that I have ever seen them have at this point in time. So that's not going to be an easy game. I'm interested to see how South Carolina looks against them. I think similar to LSU though, they are due for a really good performance because they beat Virginia Tech. It was kind of close, but they won comfortably this game. They won kind of. But I'm looking for a signature South Carolina win here early in the season. That could be their opportunity to do so. And I forgot to mention it, but Notre Dame plays Texas A&M the following week. I'll get to that game when I get to Texas A&M. But yeah, let's keep going. Next up, we have Oklahoma. They did beat Michigan at home. I correctly predicted them to beat Michigan. The question is, did they look better than I expected them to? I would say yes, because I did not think that John Mateer would look as good as he did. He treated the Michigan defense like they were pretty much nobodies, quite frankly. And listen, John Mateer, throughout the first 2 games, I thought the numbers would drop off because there's no way he can look as good as he did at Washington State, right? But the numbers have not fallen off. This guy is a statistical machine. He's incredible. He can run the ball very well. He can throw it downfield. He's not afraid to fit it into tight windows. The run game for Oklahoma will look pretty solid, mainly due to John Mateer. By the way, where the hell is Jaden Knott? Wasn't he like the number one running back portal acquisition? And like same thing with Mekhi Hughes at Oregon. Both of these guys were amazing last year, and they have not really done anything throughout the first 2 weeks. But who cares? They didn't need him. Deion Burks also with a big game here as well, and the defense looked amazing. I mean, they gave up one big run to Justice Haynes, and that was it. Outside of that, they played damn near flawless. So Oklahoma, man, I was very vocal that I thought that John Mateer would be the spark to really turn Oklahoma around. And listen, they had a really good year 2 years ago, but it's like I do think that this is kind of poised to be their best season under Brett Venables, especially in the SEC now. And listen, that Red River, if because this was the big hurdle that Oklahoma had to kind of jump here. If they do end up going undefeated by the Red River game, that could be like a top 5 or 6, or maybe even a top 6 or 7 matchup between Oklahoma and Texas. So keep an eye on that, man. That is one of the number one storylines I'm looking forward to now of the college football season. So Oklahoma now they jump up into my top 10 officially. Clemson, man, let's talk about Clemson, man. They drop another 4 spots for me because they were down at one point 16-0 against Troy. Troy, I don't even know what to say here. Cade Klubnik, back-to-back weeks, just does not look impressive. He's looking like he's gone all the way back to 2023. He has not taken a step forward. He didn't even stand still. He's taken a step back somehow. The run game did look improved. That's important to note. The run game looked at least competent in this game. Adam Randall, the running back, and Bryant Lesko, the receiver, they pretty much were the only reasons that Clemson managed to come back in this game. And shout out to the defense. They did hold Troy scoreless in the second half, as far as I know. 4 sacks, 3 takeaways. They bailed Clemson out here. But I mean, it's just you can't lose at home in week 1 because this is the thing. I'm willing to give a team a pass on a loss, right? Look at what I did for Texas. But it is very important to me how you bounce back from a loss or a bad game. We're going to get into that a little later in this video. But Clemson, this was their bounce back game. And you start that off by going down 16-0 against Troy. That's a sign of bad coaching. That's a sign of not having that fire and that desire to, prove the doubters wrong. I am very concerned about Clemson. And listen, they were my pick to make the national championship game alongside Texas. I had them ranked number 2 in the country. And after 2 weeks, they dropped to number 11. So very concerned about my Clemson pick now, especially considering how well the rest of the ACC is looking. And also, they go on the road next week to play Georgia Tech. And I mean, listen, we're going to get to Georgia Tech a little bit later. But I'm not ready to pick against Clemson in that game. But I think it's fair to say that is the biggest game of the season for Georgia Tech, and it's a must-win game. Absolutely a must-win game for Clemson. So we're going to see. I'm absolutely going to be watching that game next week. Now we have Texas A&M. 44-24 against Utah State. I do not like that final score at all, but they did dominate them. It was 30-6 at halftime. But listen, Marcel Reed is not getting hardly enough credit that he deserves. He has been amazing to start the season now, 2-0 Texas A&M. They've run the ball really well. They have 4 players with at least 55 yards and a touchdown. The offense looks incredible throughout these first 2 games. The defense has been a concern, but it looks like it was more so the backups that let Utah State score a couple of touchdowns in the second half. But they play Notre Dame. The question is, though, it is in where's Notre Dame play? It's in Indiana somewhere. I don't know the name of the place, but it isn't on the road for Texas A&M. They lost this game last year. Are they going to be able to beat Notre Dame along the lines of scrimmage? Will they be able to shut down Jeremiah Love? Will they be able to get pressure on C.J. Carr? Will they be able to move the ball on that staunch Notre Dame defense? These are all questions. I mean, I don't have them ranked very far apart, number 8 and number 12. So, I mean, it wouldn't be ludicrous for me to pick A&M to win this game, but I am going to pick Notre Dame. Here's the thing. If Notre Dame starts off 0-2, since they don't play a conference championship game, it's almost impossible for them to make the college football playoff. Like if they lose this game, their ceiling is 10-2, and also A&M and Miami most likely will be the two best opponents they play. So it's like it's not like they can pick up a signature win later on in the season. This is their chance. This is a must-win game for Notre Dame at home. I'm going to pick them to win because if they lose, it's over with. So I am going to be picking against A&M in this game, but they have looked really good, and it would not shock me at all if they pull up the upset on the road. Let's move on here. Number 13, I got Ole Miss. They dropped one spot because the quarterback looked shaky. I did not think they beat. I think Kentucky. And if you watch this game, Kentucky is terribly coached. The fans were booing at multiple points in this game, and it was a close game, but they were booing at multiple points because Kentucky, they couldn't get the play in. They got like multiple delay of game penalties. They had to burn multiple timeouts because they didn't even like the offense, the communication between the quarterback and the offensive line, the receivers, like they didn't even know what plays they were running. And still they kept it close against Ole Miss because the quarterback, Austin Simmons, threw multiple picks in the first half. So, I mean, Ole Miss really did try and pull a signature Lane Kiffin, what the fuck moment here, and lose a game they weren't supposed to. However, the run game came and bailed them out. They had multiple players with over 115 yards. Trey Harrison, or was it Trey Wallace? They transferred from Penn State, had a big game. So did Kwan Lacey. Austin Simmons, I think he managed, especially in the second half, to have a much better performance than he did in the first half. He got hurt though. Did he end up coming back in the game? I'm not sure. But Ole Miss pulls out the win. It was pretty comfortable towards the end, but yeah, they dodge a landmine here. But the question is, can they beat Arkansas next week? Is it at home or on the road? It is Ole Miss versus Arkansas. It's at Ole Miss. Listen, they dominated. They shredded the Arkansas defense last year. But the question is, can they shut down Taylon Green and the Razorback offense this season? These are questions that deserve to be answered, and I will be watching closely next week. I like the fact that Ole Miss is playing two conference games in their first 3 weeks. I think that's really important for them. But yeah, we'll see what happens next week. Ole Miss, though, I think they're still working out the kinks. I don't think they're ready yet to be looking at their best. Tennessee, though, I jumped them up 5 spots. Listen, I know that ETSC, I don't even know. I'm not even going to try and name whatever the fuck school this is, but I had a lot of doubts about Tennessee. I had them ranked very low, but all of my questions were about the quarterback and the pass game, and those have pretty much all been answered here in the first 2 weeks. Joey Aguilar looks really good. The pass game looks really good. The run game looks better than I thought. The defense looks really good. So it's like all of my questions surrounding Tennessee have pretty much been answered, and I think they're just as good, if not better, than they were last year, which was a borderline top 10 team, a playoff team. So it's like I don't have any doubts. I'm really confident at this point in Josh Heupel, like just putting together a really good, competent team, 10-win team year in and year out. So I don't think they'll beat Georgia at home this week. I'm not confident in that at all, but they don't have to. I mean, you can lose to Georgia and still win 10 games, especially considering how bad Alabama is. So, yeah, I have Tennessee jumping up a bunch of spots all the way up to number 14 for me. Now we have Iowa State. They beat Iowa. This game was a slog. I mean, you really have to hate yourself to watch Iowa versus Iowa State. But Iowa State got it done. The offense was pretty much non-existent here. Nobody had a big game, but the defense did enough. Honestly, giving up 13 points to Iowa is fairly concerning. But it is what it is. It's a big time rivalry game, so apparently some weird shit happens every season in this game. But the most important thing is that they won the game. They're 3-0, and they do have wins against Iowa and Kansas State now in their first 3 weeks. So I mean, Iowa State is looking like the overwhelming favorite here to win the Big 12 at this point in time. I'd keep your eye on Kansas, though. Next up, we have Indiana at number 16 here. They beat a nobody. Not going to spend a lot of time talking about this game. Mendoza looked good. They ran the ball all over the place. Elijah Surratt had a really good game, and the defense played well. Indiana jumps up one spot for me. That's all the attention I'm giving to that game. Illinois, though, this is a very big one. I was watching this game closely because I did pick Duke to win the game at home against Illinois, and Illinois deserves a lot of credit for me because I was really doubtful on Illinois going into the season. I did not see what other people were seeing in terms of the hype regarding Illinois. I'm still not all the way there in terms of like putting them in my top 10 above teams like Ole Miss or A&M or South Carolina, teams like that. But I do see I was impressed, right? Luke Altmaier looked really good this game. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. They ran the ball pretty effectively here. Hank Beatty had a really big game. And the Illinois defense, man, 5 takeaways. I believe one of those is like a punt or something like that, but it's like still the Illinois defense played really good. I mean, Duke, this is the thing though. If you watch this game, you knew how close Duke was, especially like the first like 3 quarters. The fourth quarter, Illinois just completely blew the game wide open. But it's like it was a situation. It was like Duke didn't capitalize in the red zone. They turned the ball over too often. But it's like it's weird, right? I feel like these teams are a lot closer to each other than the scoreboard says. But I mean, Illinois going on the road and beating what is still, in my opinion, a really good Duke team. That does a lot for me. I'm now giving them a lot more credit than I had previously. They jump up 7 spots all the way at my number 17 spot, right behind Indiana. I mean, do these two teams play this year? Because if they do, I would have to assume the winner of this game. I don't know if they do play actually. Let me just quickly see if I can find out. That would be a huge game if they do play though, because the winner of that almost certainly is going to win 10 games and is going to get that third. Well, yeah, no, probably the fourth spot. Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State. You would all assume. Oh, they play on the 20th. Do they play next week? Sorry, they play. There's a bye week. Then they play on the 20th. That is a massive game. I did not know it was going to be that soon. Yeah, huge game there in week 4 between Indiana and Illinois. We will see who pulls that off. Where is it actually? Because whoever's at home, quite frankly, is who I'm picking to win that game. It's in Indiana. So yeah, I will be picking the Hoosiers to win that game. Florida State, they beat a nobody. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Even though they beat a nobody, does anybody think they could have did this last year? Hell no. So even though they beat a team you've never heard of, it's important to give them credit where credit is due. They could not have in a million years put this performance together last season. They ran for like 361 yards. Castellanos had a really good game. Deuce Robinson was all over the place. The defense played incredibly well. FSU fans, this is the happiest that they have been since they beat what's his name. This is the happiest they've been since Jordan Travis got hurt. Let me just say that, and I can say that confidently too. So let them celebrate. They needed this. Okay, they jump up 2 spots for me. Number 19. This is where I have Michigan falling to. And listen, I did have them losing on the road to Oklahoma. I'm not shocked at this result, but I am kind of shocked at how bad their offense looked. Bryce Underwood didn't really impress me at all. He really didn't have any good moments from this game. And the run game, Justice Haynes, by the way, might be the best running back in the country. But outside of that one, 75-yard touchdown, he didn't do a lot either. So it's like, I just think Michigan's offense is what I thought it was. And the problem with that is that I don't think it's very good. I think having a difference maker like Justice Haynes, so much better than Donovan Edwards, by the way, having a difference maker like him, at least gives you a chance to compete against these these big time teams. But do they play Oregon this year? Let me check. I should have been prepared for this, but I'm asking myself when I think of Michigan, it's like the Ohio State game. I don't know what to think about that game anymore, but it's like if they played Penn State, would I pick them to beat Penn State? I'm not sure. If they played Oregon, I wouldn't pick them to beat Oregon. So it's like I just don't think Michigan's offense, at least with this current version of Bryce Underwood, is ready to win these big games. Like they play, okay, listen. Later on this season, they play a stretch of Nebraska, Wisconsin, USC, Washington. Do you really think they're going undefeated in that stretch? I doubt it, man. I really doubt it. And their schedule's not that tough. I mean, Oklahoma and Ohio State are their 2 toughest games, but it's like I see them dropping a game to a random Big Ten team that you wouldn't expect. So it's just I don't have a lot of confidence in Michigan's offense whatsoever. And by the way, their defense gave up 400 yards. So this is not the same Michigan defense that people have gotten used to. So I just think people need to really taper, I guess, their expectations of Michigan going forward. Texas Tech beat a nobody. Not going to spend hardly any time on it. Please, Texas Tech, we're all waiting for you to play a big-time opponent. Do they play one next week? I don't believe they do. So, yeah, we are still waiting for Texas Tech to play a opponent that is worth noting here. Next up, Alabama. They jumped 9 spots, and like I said with – who was it? Like I said with Clemson, the way you bounce back from a loss means a lot to me. Alabama bounced back in pretty much the best way you possibly could. They played a plus, a flawless game against UL Monroe. It's UL Monroe. I'm not saying that Alabama is winning anything big because of this game, but I am confident that their season won't fall apart because of how well they responded to the loss. Ty Simpson, I believe he went 17 for 17. He was genuinely flawless. They ran the ball really well. Jeremy Bernard looks like the best playmaker, running back or receiver on this team, and defensively they were pretty much flawless here. So Alabama, I am now confident that they're going to put the beats on Wisconsin next week at home, and I do think that they will still be able to maybe squeak out a 9-win season. Okay, maybe 10 wins if they win a bowl game. But yeah, my expectations in terms of them winning 11 games or making the SEC championship game, hell no. But for what it's worth, they still have not lost a conference game. Okay, it is for what it's worth. Moving on. SMU loses a shootout, an absolute shootout to Baylor. By the way, this is not relevant to this conversation at all. But does anybody else think that SMU belongs in the Big 12? And so doesn't that just seem like where they belong? Shouldn't they be having shootouts with the Baylors and the Texas Techs of the world instead of playing against fucking Stanford for some reason? I don't know. But SMU, they dropped significantly for me. But the thing that gives me confidence in this is that they had a similar game last year. I think it was week 2 against BYU, to where, like, yeah, they lost early, but they bounced back and they had a really good team, a really good season. The question mark for me moving forward is their defense, because I thought the SMU defense was not good, but at least good for the ACC standards. But giving up 48 points to Baylor, I'm like, I don't know about that. They also turned the ball over 3 times offensively. So even though they had 45 points scored, you know, Kevin Jennings had a pretty good game. It's like, do they still have some of the similar issues that they had last season? So I'm not as confident now in SMU winning 10 games as obviously I was a week ago. So they dropped 7 spots for me, but they still remain in my top 30. I'm not ready to write them off completely. Duke, I know they lost by a lot of points at home, but Illinois is now better. I know they're better than I thought they were. And I think Duke, this is the thing for Duke. Duke's defense really let me down this game. They're not anywhere close to as good as I expected them to be. But they have a difference-making quarterback. Darian Mensah looked really good. He looks special. And let me just put it that way. Throughout his first 2 games, the guy has like 700 something yards and 6 or 7 touchdowns. He looks special. Okay, so that is a difference-making situation to me. So, matter of fact, if I can quickly check here, I don't believe these stats are accurate. I believe these stats are from their week 1 game. So allow me to go quickly and pull up the accurate stats for what happened last week against Illinois here. My apologies, as always. Last week against Illinois, Darian Mensah had 336 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So he still threw the ball extremely effectively. However, they did not establish much of a run game. Most of their successful running plays came on the very first drive of the game. And defensively, of course, they had 4 sacks, but they did not get any takeaways against Illinois. And they lost the turnover battle 5-0. So it's like you can't win like that. They gave up 400-plus yards. Duke had more yards than Illinois, but the turnover issue, that's what really killed them here. So, yeah, Duke, bad performance, but I'm not writing them off whatsoever. I still think Duke, and SMU for that matter, both of these losses were out of conference. So I think both these teams could still be massive players in terms of the ACC championship and things like that. Now, Missouri, very impressive performance. This Bo Prabula guy, the transfer coming in from Penn State, a lot of drama surrounding him last year because he left right before the playoffs started. But, I mean, he's come in and looked amazing so far for Missouri. The run game was incredible between Ahmad Hardy and this other guy, I forget his name, but it's like they ran the ball extremely well. I mean, they were putting up big-time numbers on the Kansas defense. 3 players with at least 114 yards and a touchdown. And by the way, this Kevin Coleman guy, I believe is a transfer from Mississippi State. He looks amazing. He's wearing the number 3 now, carrying it on for Luther Burden. He looks like the next stud Missouri receiver here. So, I mean, a lot to look forward to. If you're a Missouri fan, maybe you could see the defense as a concern, but I mean, I just think Jalen Daniels was making a bunch of amazing plays here. I am very much so looking forward to what Missouri does, and this might be the 3rd or 4th straight year that Eli Drinkwitz wins 9+ games with Missouri. Say what you want, but if a guy can win 9 games 4 years in a row on Missouri, that deserves a ton of praise. So, yeah, I'm glad to see that Missouri is still a player now. They found a transfer quarterback, and I'm excited to see what they do from here. Number 25, this is where I have Utah. Isn't it weird how it's like every season where you don't think Utah is going to be pretty good, they kind of sneak up on you? And I think this transfer quarterback that they got from New Mexico State Devin Dampier, has really kind of changed up their offense. It's turned them back into what they should be, which is a run first team that relies on their defense. And they've looked really good here their first 2 weeks against UCLA and a nobody for what it's worth. But hey, I don't think Utah could have scored 63 points against a nobody last year. So, I think Utah is dangerous. I think they are a player in the Big 12 now. I think they play, who is it? I think they play, I forgot who they play. But yeah, they play someone big coming up here soon. Is it Iowa State? I hate having to look all this up on the fly here, but I feel like I need to. Uh, it's like once that thought enters my head, I can't stop until I figure out, like until I answer it for myself. Uh, Real quick here, Utah plays Texas Tech. Yes, they play Texas Tech in Week 4, similar to Illinois and Indiana. I think that Utah Texas Tech game is going to have massive implications for the Big 12 championship game. And USF here at 26, obviously they upset Florida on the road. Byron Brown with yet again another big time performance. The defense played incredibly well. I just think USF they're getting a lot of hype now. They are the pick for most people now to be the Group of Five representative to the college football playoff. And here's the thing, man. Think about their scheduling so far. The balls on USF to play Boise State Week 1, who just made the college football playoffs, Florida on the road in Week 2, and now Miami in Week 3. By the way, I do believe Miami is going to crush poor old USF. But this is the interesting thing for me. If Miami beats USF by 20 points, should USF drop out of my rankings? Because I never expected them to beat Miami. So it's like, I don't know. I guess it depends on how, like, if they get completely stomped, then yeah. But if they have a pretty competitive game, they might even move up depending on how close it is. So, yeah, I'll be watching the game very closely next week between Miami and USF. TCU, for some reason, I have no clue why they didn't play this week. Maybe Monday to Saturday is too short of a week, whatever. But I don't know. But TCU did not play. They dropped 2 spots for me. Georgia Tech, though, I don't really know why they dropped 2 spots. Oh, never mind. Because USF and Utah jumped into the rankings, all these teams here had to drop. Georgia Tech, they beat some nobody. They had a new quarterback playing. I don't know what happened with Haynes King, but this guy, he threw for like 350 plus yards for Georgia Tech. What the hell is that about? Where have they been hiding this guy? I mean, what is the chances that you have two of the most? Let me not say. I'm not going to hype this guy up too much based off one game, but like you have a quarterback on the roster who can absolutely sling it and throw for over 300 yards, and then you have possibly the best running quarterback or one of the best running quarterbacks in the country in Haynes King. So, yeah, I mentioned that they host Clemson this upcoming week. It is a massive game for the Georgia Tech program as a whole. Like, if they do beat Clemson, that could be like a program changing win right there. So it's huge for them. I don't think they're going to be able to win it, but we'll see what happens. I still have Georgia Tech ranked in my top 30. Louisville, they dropped 2 spots. They beat JMU at home. I'm just not really impressed so far by Miller Moss. I do think, though, Louisville has some really interesting offensive players. I mean, Chris Bell, the receiver, he looked really good in this game. He had an explosive touchdown. Isaac Brown, he had an explosive, massive run play. So I still think they have some really, Colin Lacey, the receiver, they have some really good weapons. I'm just not sure if Miller Moss is the guy yet. The Louisville defense, though, played really well. 6 sacks, 2 takeaways. JMU was running a 2 quarterback system. I don't know what the hell they're doing. But Louisville won the game at home. And both these teams, man, Georgia Tech and Louisville, the ACC is low-key kind of stacked now. They have like 6 or 7 really interesting teams. And then Arizona State at my number 30 spot. They lost on the road to Mississippi State, and Sam Levitt let them down, man. They had the run game. Raleek Brown, Kanye Udo, they had the run game going with it, but Sam Levitt could not deliver. Only 3 players caught a pass for Arizona State. Mississippi State's defense completely and totally shut down the pass game of Arizona State, and the Arizona State defense got kind of just torched by Mississippi State's offense. They didn't get a takeaway. But here's the thing. I'm going to give Arizona State some grace. I am betting on Arizona State on turning things around, and, I'm going to give them a bit of a buffer. I'm not ready to say that they're cooked or they're washed. They lost a close game on the road to a not so terrible SEC team. So we'll see what happens there. So here are the honorable mentions for all of the teams that could be ranked. Honestly, I could do a top 50 if I had no life. But yeah, Navy, Tulane, Pitt, BYU, Nebraska, Washington. UNLV and NC State, they're both 3-0. Arkansas, Auburn, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, USC, Baylor, Kansas, Colorado, Florida, a bunch of teams. I genuinely could do a top 50. There are like 60 teams that I'm really paying close attention to. So it's tough, man. But that is going to be the top 30 for this week. Please, if you would be so kind as to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.